Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, today my special guests are two registered dietitians, and they're going to help us with some healthy eating tips for the summer, and also some tips on how to stay hydrated for the summer, and more. So please stay tuned for our two interviews. Also, I just want to let everyone know, if you'd like to win a copy of one of my Gourmand World Award-winning books from the Basic Art of Italian Cooking book series, there is a contest going on Instagram. So if you follow me at Maria Liberati, you'll see the details on how to win a copy of one of my books. Go to Instagram.com, follow me at Maria Liberati. You'll have a chance to win a book. This week's winner was Josephine Tibruzio from Brooklyn, New York, and she won a copy of The Basic Art of Cocktails. Thank you, Josephine, for participating. And also, I just wanted to tell everyone that my guest next week will be Frank Morelli, who wrote this fascinating book. It's actually kind of fun, but it's really a delicious diet book filled with recipes and healthful information, nutrition information about the recipes. It's called the Mob Diet Book, and that's MOBB. And you'll learn why he has a special connection to that word also in the interview, and that will be on next week's podcast. But I also wanted to tell everyone that he has graciously donated some cookbooks to us to give away to some lucky listeners. So again, if you go on Instagram at marialiberati.com, you'll also have a chance to win one of Frank Morelli's book, The Mob Diet Cookbook. And please listen to his interview next week. I think that contest will start next week, but just stay tuned on Instagram for that contest. And with 4th of July coming up soon, I wanted to give you a recipe for a mushroom pate. It's actually crostini with mushroom pate, but also wanted to read an excerpt. This is from my book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Diary Seasons, which is a book that was taken from my diary that I kept while living in Italy. And this is a diary entry from a July 6th when I was there. Again, it's from the book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Diaries and Seasons, and this is on page 31. But this diary entry is titled A Trip to Via Corradini and Mushroom Pate. I'm really not fond of pate, are you? But I'm always on the lookout for ways to make a non-traditional type of pate. At my country house in Abruzzo, I have an organic garden I love to tend to. One year, I had so much time that I made bouquets and placed them around the kitchen, la cucina, but I wanted to use it up before the bouquets dried. The fridge happened to be filled with fresh mushrooms. I embarked on a quick trip to the local cheese store on Via Corradini. I look forward to my walks on the principal street in the center of town. One can find a coffee bar, a fresh pasta store, a forno, which is a pizza and bread oven, a bakery, and a small grocery store. If you choose the perfect hour and the wind is blowing the right way, your nose will be entertained by the fragrance of bread or pizza just dancing its way out of the oven. As you keep walking, the mountains of Abruzzo provide a live painting to view, along with the sight of an old church steeple. No need to bring a watch. You can depend on the church bells to ring out every hour. When the stores begin to lock their doors and shut their lights, it's time to head home to prepare the afternoon meal, but that's okay. By this time, you're ravenous from the sights, smells, and sounds. A bottle of Montepulciano d'Abruzzo will make this a perfect summer meal. Add a plate of fresh fruit for dessert. Here's the recipe for the crostini with mushroom pate. 1 egg, 8 ounces of fresh mushrooms washed and sliced, a branch of fresh thyme, 1 head of lettuce, 2 slices of American bread sliced thin with the crust removed. Those are the crostini. 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise, 1 tablespoon of Greek yogurt, a half a tablespoon of unsalted butter, a dash of salt, and some freshly ground black pepper. Place butter in a non-stick pan. Add in the mushrooms, a pinch of salt, and 4 lettuce leaves washed. Cover and saute over low heat for 10 minutes. Boil the egg in water for 10 minutes. Place under cold running water, and peel. Remove the mushrooms from the heat and set aside a few slices for decoration. In a food processor or blender, place the mushroom mix, the hard-boiled egg, yogurt, mayo, that's the mayonnaise, and a half a teaspoon of thyme, that's freshly chopped finely. Blend until smooth and creamy. Cut out 8 circles from the bread slices. You can use maybe a glass to cut out the circles or just a round cookie cutter. Toast the circles until golden under the broiler. Remove from the oven and spread with that creamy mushroom mixture and serve. And that is a crostini with mushroom pate, which I should say makes a great appetizer for a 4th of July picnic or any time. Stick with me for those interviews. And my special guest today is registered dietitian and owner of Soundbites Nutrition, Lisa Andrews. And she's going to help us with some tips on how to stay hydrated for the summer. Lisa, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Maria.
It's the temperatures, I know on the East Coast, but I think almost everywhere in the country have been really, and the world really, have been
Yeah,
really killer temperatures. So I think this is a really important topic for people, especially for this season.
I agree. It was close to 100 here in Cincinnati over the weekend. It was
Oh,
miserable.
yes. Yes, exactly. It was anyway. So what can we do to make sure we keep hydrated?
I would try to make it easy for yourself. So, what I usually extend to my clients, or what I suggest to my clients, is to, have a special water bottle for yourself, whether that's a Stanley cup or some kind of cup that you pick up at Target,
Huh?
and figure out what your drinking style is. So, for example, some people like straws. Some people just like a wide mouth glass. Some people like, just a bottle with a little tiny lip on it, but everybody's different.
Yes.
So I would say, especially first thing in the morning when you get up, and this sounds gross, but I always tell people what goes in must come out. So
Uh-huh.
take a look at your urine. If your urine is sort of dark yellow and it should be sort of a straw colored, it should be sort of a pale yellow and definitely not look like iced tea for sure. But if it's too dark, you're probably dehydrated. So rather than going for your coffee or tea first thing in the morning, grab those 16 ounces of water before you start any other beverages or before you eat. um, I counsel a lot of people on weight loss, and if you're thirsty, your brain doesn't recognize that you're thirsty, and you may feel hungry when really you're just thirsty. So you want to stay well hydrated.
Exactly. Yes, and I understand drinking water also helps with weight loss, right? Does that also help keeping
Sure.
you
I mean,
hydrated?
yeah, it helps you metabolize your food, which helps to break it down and helps to, get rid of waste products. It's good for your skin.
Uh-huh.
Um, and there's other ways to stay hydrated beyond just water. So this is a great time of year to eat, fruits and vegetables that are high in water, beautiful salads, and you can, add different, berries or other fruit that you like to it.
Mm-hmm.
Melon is very high in water. So watermelon, cucumbers, raspberries, blueberries, all of those things. Those are really nice, juicy fruits that have a lot of water in them. So those are other ways to increase
Other
your
ways
water
to stay
content.
hydrated.
Mhm.
And best things to drink, I guess just plain water.
I would say plain water, but if you want to spice it up a little bit, maybe add a little squeeze of some type of citrus. And with any fruits and vegetables, and especially citrus, they look beautiful on the counter, but it's much better in the refrigerator. It's going to last a lot longer. So I tell people to put them in, a Ziploc bag or some sort of recyclable plastic container just to keep them kind of airtight, and they'll
Uh-huh.
last for months. So, maybe oranges aren't necessarily in season right now. You're going to see more lemons and limes,
Mm-hmm.
but you can certainly use, orange or grapefruit or something like that to put a little squeeze of that in your lemon, in your water if you'd like.
Great. That's great. Lisa, thanks so much for helping us with those tips and helping us stay hydrated for the
Sure.
summer. And
Mhm.
hopefully we'll have you back another time to, give us some more tips. Thanks
Sure.
again,
Absolutely.
Lisa. Hi, this is Maria Liberati, wishing you a happy summer and hoping that along with indulging in great food and drink this summer, you'll also indulge in my book series for the summertime, your summertime reading list. If you do have a list, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking is a great culinary memoir to enjoy as an armchair trip to Italy and enjoy my food-filled adventures throughout Italy and possibly learn to cook a new dish or two. I've been so excited that the book series, besides winning the Gourmand World Awards, has been growing and growing with readers that continue to just love reading about my fun food-filled adventures and recipes as well in some charming spots of Italy, and also love cooking great food and having fun while doing it. So if you'd like to take a trip to Italy without leaving your armchair this summer, or cook a great meal to impress family and friends, get a copy of The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Holidays and Special Occasions, and The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci Style. Peace, love, and pasta. And see you on the Maria Liberati Show podcast, heard wherever podcasts are heard, or find me at marialiberati.com. And my special guest today is Jessica Courting. She's a registered dietitian and author, and she's going to help us with telling us some tips on how to stay on track for a healthy diet for the summertime. I know everybody always has trouble staying on track during the summertime. Everybody just wants to kind of let loose and just eat whatever. So, Jessica, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So tell us, as I mentioned, and you know this too, summertime comes and everybody thinks it's just time to let loose and just eat whatever. And then summer ends and it's like it's like, wow, where did these extra whatever pounds come from? So how can we stay on track? I think summertime is my easiest time to stay on track because it's warm and you don't really feel like eating a lot. Drinking more water and liquids is always something I like to do. But anyway, so how can we stay on track in the summertime?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that depends on being clear on what specifically you might struggle with. So to your point, some people find summer easier. Maybe their schedule is a little bit lighter. They have more time to focus. The extra
Uh-huh.
daylight helps them feel a little more upbeat and have energy for
Right.
exercise. So that can happen. But
Hmm.
other times we see people get so focused on getting in shape for summer, and then
Right.
summer comes and it's
Right.
like free for all. But also too, I think a lot of us have a lot of special occasions happening in the summer.
Uh-huh.
It's like wedding season. You also have graduations, for a lot of folks, vacation, times where we might be a little bit more likely to indulge in foods and beverages that might not be part of our everyday routine.
Yes, and
So
don't
where I
forget
see,
about
yeah,
I just wanted to mention, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, there's all those picnics too and summer parties. Yes, so go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so I think, and I think it is important to enjoy celebrations, right? Food can be
Right.
a part of that, but when someone has a lot of celebrations
Uh-huh.
in one season, it can start to feel a little bit overwhelming.
Yes.
And I see people get into like a feast or famine cycle where they're either overeating, and then to try to make up for it, quote unquote,
Oh,
they
starving.
severely restrict, and the
Yes.
cycle continues. So
Yes.
I think it's important to have a plan for how to enjoy those celebrations and those vacations, in a way that will allow you to avoid feeling deprived, but not like you are overdoing it and feeling uncomfortable.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Yes, that's so important. And you're absolutely right. I notice people do that too. It's either, they eat like nonstop or almost nothing at all, which is not a good routine to get into. But, I think the one thing people tend to think that, they can just eat like that, these gourmet meals on a daily basis where those types of food are you can't really do that daily. It's just, and every so often it's almost like a treat to have that, gourmet foods or different types of foods. But anyway, any specific tips for helping us stay on track?
Yeah, so I'll share one, I'll start with one mindset trick, and then I'll
Right.
share a little more of like a practical in the moment trick.
Yes.
Um, from a mindset perspective, I think what's important is to know that, one meal will not derail your entire diet experience. It will not undo all your healthy habits. Even a week of unhealthful eating
Uh-huh.
won't set you back permanently. So
Right.
I think it's important to, for people who struggle with all or nothing thinking,
Uh-huh.
to be a little bit more gentle with themselves when they do feel like they overdo it, and not to
Yes.
say like, sometimes I hear all the time people say, well, you say help certain things in moderation. What if like one day it's this in moderation, next day it's that in moderation? Like, what if moderation was, and I'm aware that that is a thing, but
Right.
I think what's important to know is that if you do feel like you indulge a little bit more than feels comfortable,
Uh-huh.
rather than going austerity diet the next day,
Uh-huh.
prioritize foods that help you feel energized, balanced. Make sure you're getting protein, fat, and fiber at your
There you go.
meals, because that's
Mhm.
going to help you feel grounded, help you stay full, give you energy. Drinking plenty of water, that helps digestion keep moving. So that is really important for keeping us from feeling uncomfortable,
Mhm.
digestively speaking.
Right.
So I think there's that piece of it, just to know that, if you have an experience that is not really ideal, you don't have to like throw all caution to the wind and just
Uh-huh.
go nuts because you had one experience where you maybe ate more than you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
Um, but from like a more tactical perspective, if you are at a barbecue, you're at
Uh-huh.
a graduation party, a wedding, and we can't always, we don't always know what food options will be available, right? Like we
Right.
can't control everything, nor should we
Yes.
make that our goal. But
Right.
from a big picture perspective, as a dietitian, I'm always looking at supporting stable blood sugar because that
Mhm.
helps us feel full, keeps us
Uh-huh.
energized, helps keep our mood stable, it supports a healthy stress response. And what can be really helpful when it comes to figuring out what to eat at like a barbecue or other gathering, I generally recommend aiming to fill half of your plate with non-starchy veggies because you're going to
Mhm.
get fiber, you're going to get fluid, both of which are filling. You're going to get
Right.
important vitamins and minerals and
Uh-huh.
antioxidants. The calorie load is a bit smaller,
Uh-huh.
so that can also help for people keeping an eye towards that. And then
Yes.
you want about a quarter of your plate some kind of protein. So I tend to recommend as much as possible aiming for the leaner proteins like your chicken, turkey burgers,
Uh-huh.
eggs, tofu and tempeh, fish of course. But then there's
Uh-huh.
things like if you really want a burger, like don't completely deny yourself. I
Right.
think it's okay to make room for that stuff. So
Mhm.
that's, we're talking about you got three-quarters of your plate right there. And then
Right.
pick a carb or like a high cal add-on that is appealing to you. So
Right.
maybe you want a bun for your burger. Maybe
Mhm.
you want some potato salad. Maybe you
Uh-huh.
want to have some dessert. And that's, the what's gonna or a cocktail. That's where that would go.
Uh-huh.
Um, looking for healthy fats. Avocado, for example, which is in
Mhm.
guacamole, which is often at
Right.
these gatherings. That's a great source of healthy fat and fiber. You
Yes.
can look for things like hummus. But
Uh-huh.
if you're like jonesing for a little cheese on your burger, we'll go with that
Uh-huh.
example. Like it's fine. I think
Mhm.
it's really about having that well balanced meal and
Right.
keeping an eye towards portions. Just because, or if you have a meal though where maybe you have a burger bun and potato salad and dessert, like
Mhm.
just acknowledge the experience you had. Maybe you enjoyed the company you were with, you had a
Right.
really great meal, but then move on. Like your next eating occasion is a a chance to just get back into your usual routine. No drama required.
Exactly. That's great. Well, we're almost out of time, Jessica. So, first, thank you for being on. But tell us, I know you have 2 books out. Why don't you just tell us the title of your books and where people can find you?
Sure. So you can find way more about my books and my podcast at my website,
Okay.
jessicacourtingnutrition.com. That's
Okay.
where you'll also find all my social media info. But my books are so the first one is The Little Book of Game Changers,
Uh-huh.
50 Healthy Habits for Managing Stress and Anxiety.
Uh-huh.
And the second book is The Farewell Tour, A Caregiver's Guide to Stress Management, Sane Nutrition, and Better Sleep.
Great. Thanks again, Jessica. Thanks so much for being on, and hopefully we'll see you in the near future. Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guests. And also, just a reminder, follow me on Instagram at Maria Liberati, and you'll have a chance to win one of my cookbooks. And also, next week's special guest is author Frank Morelli, who wrote a cookbook called The Mob Diet Book. And he's graciously giving us some cookbooks to give away. So please follow me on Instagram. That's where you'll be able to win the books from the Instagram. And that contest for Frank Morelli's book will start next week, and his interview will be next week also. And as always, you can find me at marialiberati.com, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Vimeo at Maria Liberati, our YouTube channel for the Maria Liberati Show, where you'll find not only audio, but you'll also find video of some of the podcasts. And you can get your copy of one of my many Gourmand World Award-winning books in the series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at marialiberati.com, at artoflivingprimamedia.com, and on Amazon or Kindle as well. And the book that I read from, the excerpt and the recipe, crostini with mushroom pate, is from my book. It's the latest book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Diaries Seasons. And that's also, you can find that anywhere the books are sold as well, on marialiberati.com, on Amazon, and Kindle. And just a quick mention also, another book that's now available. I had the pleasure of translating a book from Italian to English, and it's actually an award-winning book in Italy. In English, it's called How Wine Can Change Lives, and it was written by Italian wine journalist, award-winning wine journalist, Laura Donadoni, and I had the extreme pleasure of doing the English translation. And you can find that book, How Wine Can Change Lives, on Amazon, Kindle, and anywhere books are sold. You can find it on artoflivingprimamedia.com also. It's a really interesting story about some of the small mom and pop wineries throughout Italy, and some of the backstory. So you'll also enjoy that. And until next time, peace, love, and pasta.